Good morning, desert wayfarers. As part of my series about more in-depth look at the gear that I carry out into the desert, now I want to talk about the sleeping pad that I carry out in the desert and the pros and cons of this particular sleeping pad. So, another excellent company, Sea to Summit. This is the Sea to Summit Ultralight sleeping pad, and it has an R value of 3. Okay, so it's supposed to keep you warm. Now we'll talk about that in a second about well, why are you trying to stay warm in the desert. So I've used this a bunch of times out in the desert, and I find it to be incredibly comfortable. But as you guys have heard me say many times, that the desert is a unique environment and requires unique products or products that can survive that very difficult and harsh environment of the desert. And you're getting sick of me saying it, but sand is your nemesis. Sand gets in everything. Sand will prevent you from having an enjoyable time out in the desert. So you have to look at products with that kind of scrutinizing eyes, like how will sand affect this product? Now, Sea to Summit, they make amazing products. So this has nothing to do with the quality of the product. It has to do with why I'm using this product in the desert. All right, so for me, like I say, very comfortable. The problem with this pad is the design. It is not designed for sand. And as you can see, all these dimples, these tuftings in the sleeping pad, they just become little pools, little divots, little indentations where sand loves to get in and accumulate. Okay, if you're in your tent and you have it unzipped for a few moments, or you don't zip it at all and there's any bit of a wind, the sand is such a small particle it can get into everything. And so I have found that sand accumulates inside these little divots. Okay, so again, a great product, a super comfortable product, but perhaps not the best product that you want to use out in the desert. So why are we using sleeping pads? Well, you want to be comfortable. People think, oh, sand is soft, it's a wonderful thing to sleep on, but after a while you start compacting the sand and it becomes hard like concrete. So you definitely need a nice, comfortable sleeping pad out in the desert if you want a good night's sleep. The other thing that people don't think about is when we talk about R value of insulation, you're usually people are insulating themselves from the cold of the ground. You know, the classic thing in Boy Scouts, if you have 3 blankets, you're going to put 2 on the bottom and 1 on top, because it's the ground, that cold ground, that's going to suck the heat out of you and prevent you from getting a good night's sleep. In the desert, it's the exact opposite. The sand has been baking, cooking all day long in the hot sun. So, you know, when you have an air temperature of 45 degrees Celsius, 50 degrees Celsius, and now we're looking at 116, 120 degrees Fahrenheit, and the sun is just beating down on the sand out here, especially here in the Ruba Khali. Okay, that sand retains the heat all night. So if you just were to lay down on the sand, you would be slowly cooking yourself also, because the re-radiation of the heat back out from the sand will just make your night miserable. So when you're buying a sleeping pad, you know, you also need to keep in mind the R value, because now you're not insulating yourself from the cold, you're insulating yourself from the heat. Now, I'll probably replace this pad. I'm looking for a pad that has either horizontal or vertical baffles that can be cleaned very easily, something that sand can't collect in, it can't pool in these features. Like I say, this has nothing to do with the quality of Sea to Summit. I have lots of their other products. I find them to be fantastic. It's just that when I bought this pad, I wasn't thinking enough about the behavior of sand. So when buying kit for the desert, you need to kind of change your mentality from, you know, temperate climates, from woodlands or high altitude. Okay, you really have to think, and I know you're getting sick of me saying it, is that sand is everywhere, and it's going to get in everything, and it's going to get in the most uncomfortable places on you and your body and your nose and your ear. And the last thing you want to do is have sand, while you're trying to sleep, especially if you're not using a sleeping bag in the summer. You're just laying on this thing, sand is getting on you constantly. So keep that in mind when buying products. Again, fantastic product, however, just probably not designed, well, they probably didn't think they would be using this out in the desert, so not designed for the desert. So I'm going to go try some new pads, find out which ones I like, and I'll get back to you. So keep on adventuring, my friends. We'll talk to you soon.